What's up, guys? OCDMTG coming back at you with another video. I know it's been a while. My uploads have been garbage, honestly, but there's somehow 32 of you subscribed to me now, which is crazy, considering I uploaded like last year and people are still just randomly subscribing. So thank you for liking my videos, commenting. I try and answer every commented question that I can as soon as possible. That way I can kind of at least have answers for questions that people have about any of my decks. Specifically, if they have any recommendations, I do like to take recommendations into account, but for the most part, everyone that's asked something, I've kind of already went over like those considerations in my head already because I played my decks very consistently. So, but I will always take recommendations and answer questions, so don't be afraid to do that. But yeah, thanks for checking out these videos, liking them, and in general, just enjoying my content, quote unquote. But yeah, it is 2026. We have a bracket system now. The bracket system is interesting with me and the people I play with. Typically, we are running bracket 3 and 4 decks. I do have bracket 2 decks I like to play for fun, but yeah, this Windgrace deck is a bracket 4. It wasn't a thing when I made the previous video, but I'd say that one was also bracket 3 to 4 for the most part. This one is as bracket 4 as I can make it, because I wanted to have a bracket 4 deck, specifically my favorite deck. So, Lord Windgrace. He is Jund, he is land strategies, he is Jund good stuff, so he is my favorite. Let's get into it. So Windgrace, I like to play a lot of lands. I think before I was running 39 to 40. I am now up to 42 lands. I'm running 8 fetches. So for 8 fetches, we're doing all the green fetches: Wooded Foothills, Verdant Catacombs, Misty Rainforest, Windswept Heath. In addition to those, we are playing Prismatic Vista, Fabled Passage, Evolving Wilds, and Terramorphic. So 8 fetches, no more, no less. I like this number. It's always good for my mana fixing and good for my landfall strategies. With those 8 fetches, we have 8 basics. We are trying to keep the basics to a low amount. I've come to the conclusion that 8 is decent. We're running 4 regular basics, 2 forests, 1 mountain, 1 swamp, and 4 snow basics, 2 snow-covered forests, 1 snow-covered mountain, 1 snow-covered swamp. The reason for the snow lands is for the Field of the Dead count. We want to have 7 lands with different names, so snows. 8 fetches, 8 basics. For the rest of the mana fixing, we are running Command Tower, Undergrowth Stadium, and Spire Garden. Untapped green mana is very important, especially for early on. So we got the 2 bond lands in Spire Garden and Undergrowth Stadium, and the Command Tower for those untapped green mana. Also, for our fetches and our check lands, we are running Overgrown Tomb, Blood Crypt, Stomping Ground, and then Vernal Fen, Smoldering Marsh, Cinderglade. Now that we have this Vernal Fen, it does kind of make a difference because we didn't have it before. Specifically in my last video that I made, having this has changed the consistency a lot, so it's great that they finished that cycle. We also have the Zeator's Proving Ground for the Triome. So, got mana fixing covered all around. For our utility lands, we're playing the 2 bounce lands, Ingolgari Rot Farm and Gruul Turf. The bounce land's good for extra land drops if need be. Also, you can bounce back Abo Seiju if needed, if you had to play it for a land drop for earlier in that turn, or when you got like a Scape Shift trigger. You grab one of these and the Boseiju, put the Boseiju in hand if you need it for that removal piece. We're running the Urza Saga, good for grabbing that Soul Ring early on if you play this as your first land for turn. Also great for getting the Zern Orb or the Amulet of Vigor if you need those. which eventually you do if you want to close out a game in this deck. Amulet's just so good, so strong. Zern Orb, good for doing sacking shenanigans. We're running the Strip Mine, Roadside Reliquary, good for card draw. If you have an enchantment and artifact out, you get 2 cards for 2 mana. Strip Mine, good for hitting those utility lands if people are playing some stuff like Nykthos or like those like station lands that are just really good. We're running the Valakut. Valakut's really strong in this deck because I'm running the Prismatic Omen and Dry Elysian Grove to make all my lands mountains. So it's usually turned on through that, not because I have enough mountains out, although there are 7 mountains in the deck. Boseiju, good for that removal. Untapped green mana also as well, so if you have to play it early on, don't be afraid to play it, because you can bounce it back to your hand using either Mina, Den, or the bounce land. Argoth, we're playing the Titania in the deck to meld this together to get that Splendid Wreck effect. You're not really using it for the ability to make a Baron mill, unless you're in some like weird dire circumstance where you need a bear and to mill 3 cards at sorcery speed, but can be really good for the meld, but not really for the effect. We're running our 2 utility combos of Urborg and Cabal, and Thespian Stage and Dark Depths. Marrow Age is really good in this deck. If you can get it out quick, it's probably one of the easier ways to end a game fast. Cabal, Urborg. Urborg good for the Dread Presence, and in general, just to get the Cabal to be on. Once the Cabal's online, having lots of mana is very helpful, especially late game. And then we're running the 3 game changers in lands of Glacial Chasm, Ancient Tomb, and Field of the Dead. So these are 3 of our 6 game changers in our list. Glacial Chasm as a game changer I wasn't running before, but because it's a game changer, I was like, I guess I can throw it in the deck. Why not? Turns out it can still be good for fogging at instant speed if you have a crop rotation, but also it doesn't protect your Windgrace, so it doesn't help you in that regard. It just stops people from just all out wiping you out of the game. But yeah, I like to do it with that crop rotation defense play. Ancient Tomb, good early on for the mana ramp, and Field of the Dead because 2/2 zombies is good, according to Wizards, so why not? So 42 lands, 3 game changers out of those 42. Next, we're going into our artifacts. We're running 5 just straight up artifacts. We've got Zern Orb, Amulet of Vigor, Crucible Worlds. These are 3 main artifacts because they help us with all of our strategies when it comes to the lands matters, giving lands from our grave, having our lands come in untapped, and our Zern Orb to sack the lands to do sack triggers and or gain life. Definitely keeps me alive, definitely progresses my game in a way I want, and definitely is good for reusing those lands when you are sacking them. And the Soul Ring and Arcane Signet because mandatory rocks, we're just running the 2. Until Soul Ring becomes a game changer, hopefully, but probably won't, so Soul Ring. We're running 5 enchantments that are just enchantments. We're running Exploration, Prismatic Omen, Eula's Influence, Squander Resources, and Fires of Yavimaya. The Squander Resources in particular is good for extending plays, great for Splendid Reclamation combos, and good with Corvold out or Gitrog out to draw cards while also making mana. Eula's Influence, good with Gitrog out. You discard a land, make a bear, draw a card. It's pretty good value. Also a good way to get lands out of your hands for Splendid Recs. Prismatic Omen, good for the Dread Presence, good for the Valakut, good for the Cabal, and just good for mana fixing. Exploration, extra land drops each turn, always good. Other than these 5 artifacts and these 5 enchantments, we do run Dried Elysian Grove and Urza Saga, which are 2 other enchantments, making our enchantment count 7. And then we're running the Hearth Hull and the what was the other one? Ornithopter of Paradise as 2 more artifacts technically, so we are running 7 artifacts, 7 enchantments. For that roadside reliquary specifically, you want both an enchantment and an artifact out at the same time to get the most value off of that, so I thought that would be kind of nifty to have 7 of each, just to keep that count even. I don't know. Like I said, OCD MTG. It's just something I thought of. We're running 26 creatures. Dryad Arbor is technically a creature for this list because it is a creature, even though it is also a land. But I'm also counting the Hearthhole as a creature because most of the time I'm making it a creature and it's not just sitting there as an artifact, so it's a creature. We're running a lot of green because it's Jund, and mostly Jund run like 70% green. If I look at my stats on Moxfield for this list in particular, it's saying that I'm running 24% of black in my mana symbols, 22 in red, 69% green. Nice. Yep, I'm not straying from the course when it comes to Jund builds, but it seems to be the best way to do it. So, Birds of Paradise, Ignoble Hierarch, Arbor Elf, Ornithopter of Paradise, and Enduring Vitality. These are our 5 mana dorks. These 3 are 1-drops early on, just good for mana fixing and mana ramp, because you want to get that Windgrace out as soon as possible. Usually, if I can get a turn 3 Windgrace, I'm in a good spot. Ornithopter of Paradise and Enduring Vitality, good for mana fixing as well, and for early game-ish. Enduring Vitality, good late game for when you have a bunch of zombies and you can use them to tap for mana. So if you do something like, I don't know, sack all your lands for some reason, at least you still have mana resources. But, we'll go over that. We were running 4 landfall payoffs in the deck. Compared to most Windgraces, this is a land matter deck, not a landfall deck. So we don't have any landfall triggers that are like crazy. We just are using them for value. Tiller Engine, when a land comes into play, you can either untap that land or tap a non-land permanent and opponent controls. A lot of people forget about this second line. This second line is very important for when you have fetches out and somebody's trying to hit you with something big and scary, or trying to infect you out, or, I don't know, commander damage you out. You can fetch something during the beginning of combat, tap down their creature or commander, and protect yourself that way. If not, you're just having lands come in untapped. Lotus Cobra, mana. If I get this out turn 1 or 2, I'm usually getting Windgrace out by turn 3. So very good for early game, just terribly good late game. Tireless Provisioner, Tireless Tracker, Treasures and Food, Clues, so card draw, mana, life gain. If you're struggling in that late game, if you don't have that Zern Orb, you have a lot of mana and a lot of foods, I guess you can gain a bunch of life. Tireless Tracker, I'm getting most of the time early on if I'm tutoring for a creature to the battlefield, just because having that card draw early on is very, very good, and making him big later on can be useful. So we got Dryad Arbor, like I said, creature, Buttland, getting of the Green Sun Zenith with an untapped green mana on your first turn, and casting Green Sun Zenith, good for that early ramp. But usually you're using this for fodder for Lord Windgrace if you have it in hand, or a blocker for Windgrace when you have it on the field if you just need chump block. You can fetch the Dryad Arbor with your 4 green fetches and get an instant speed blocker to chump block. Kind of helpful. Sylvan Safekeeper, good for protecting key pieces on your board. Also good for comboing with Gitrog or Corvold. Sack, give something Shroud, draw a card. Titania, more life gain effect. Good for blocking for Windgrace as well, just because it does have reach and it's got a decent body. You're melding it if you can get set up, keep and meet those conditions, but I do like having the extra life gain because I am sacking lands a lot of this. Deck likes to sack lands. Dryad Elysian Grove, good for that. Dread Presence, that Valakut. Also an extra land drop per turn, always good. Ancient Green Warden, doubling your landfall abilities, even though we are not running a lot. Doubles your Dread Presence, doubles your Valakut. Lotus Cobra, Feel of the Dead. Got that 5/7 reach. Play lands from your graveyard. So he's usually blocking for that Windgrace, or he's doubling those land effects. Multani, another reacher. Also has trample, so you can use him to swing in for lethal if you have just a bunch of lands late game. His 1 and a green ability to return 2 lands to your hand to return him from your graveyard makes him easily, usable for sacking for things like Momentous Fall, or you can use him to return lands back to your hand to then use for fodder for Windgrace. But big boy, usually blocking or attacking to unalive your opponents. As soon as Primetime gets off the ban list and becomes a game changer, I foresee him coming out and putting in Primetime, just because I've been testing Primetime in this deck and it's insane. Not broken, just insane. But Multani, for now, will just be in that slot. For utility creatures / value creatures that are non-green for the strategies, otherwise known as Jund Good stuff for this part of the deck list, we got Deathrite Shaman, Vexing Shusher. Good for making things uncounterable. Good for hitting things out of people's graveyards at instant speed if they're trying to loop stuff, or if they're trying to do graveyard shenanigans. Or early game ramp when they're fetching and you just have this out turn 1. Help get that Windgrace out. Help, be able to cast that Windgrace. Cavalier of Flame and Dread Presence. The Dread Presence with the Urborg, the Prismatic Omen, and the Dryad Elysian Grove, very consistent when he's out. Whenever Swamp enters, you draw a card and lose life, or you deal 2 damage to any target and gain 2 life. So he's got so much utility. You want to deal damage to somebody, you want to gain life, you want to draw a card, this guy's your guy. Cavalier of Flames, also very good utility. 1 in a red, give your creatures +1/+0 haste, even itself. So have a bunch of Feel of the Dead tokens, give them all +1/+0 haste, super good. ETB, draw, or discard any number of cards, draw that many cards. Technically is a good card draw spell. If you have a bunch of lands in hand, get rid of them, replace them with hopefully better cards. When he dies and he goes to the grave, each opponent takes X damage, where X is the number of lands in your graveyard. Very good late game when you have a graveyard full lands, or if somebody tries to board wipe and this is out, and you have a ability to sack the lands at instant speed. If you can just get like 20 of them in your graveyard, and then before that board wipe resolves, this land count is way bigger, and then you can just hit your opponents for 20 each. Can probably close out a game. Mina and Den Gitrog, extra land drops, both good utility in their own respective ways. Whenever a land hits your grave from anywhere, draw a card. So this plus Windgrace out, you +2 Windgrace, you discard a land, you draw 1 off Gitrog and 2 off of Windgrace. And then Mina and Den, you can pay red and green, return a land back from your field to your hand, then you can use it for a Windgrace ability to draw 2 cards. You can also just give a Merit Lage Trample, that's always strong. 2 dragons, Skithiryx and Tear the Peaks. Just 2 scary dragons. Skithiryx, particularly good for infecting your opponents out. This is a bracket 4 deck, why not? Tear the Peaks, good for a bunch of Feel the Dead triggers. After Escape Shift or a Splendid Reclamation, he's just going to be dealing damage all around. You have this guy out and you instant speed a Merit Lage out into play, 20 damage to somebody's face. Just so good. Skithiryx, even though he's a 4/4, you can buff him up other ways to make him a 1-shot. So, good ways of killing your opponents. We have 3 Jund leaders in the deck that are not Windgrace. So we got Corvold. Whenever you sack a permanent, he gets bigger, you draw a card. So you're sacking your lands, you're sacking clues, you're sacking treasures, you're making him huge, you're drawing cards. This thing is so good in this deck. I don't think I can play Windgrace without Corvold. I added these two. They were not in the deck profile before, but this Windgrace deck is deemed Windgrace in space, specifically because I added these two from that space precon. This one specifically was recently added. I'm still kind of testing it, but testing so far has been pretty good. You can play lands from your graveyard, so you have 3 Crucible effects. You got this guy, Crucible Worlds, and you got Ancient Green Warden. He's also flying, so if you need a flying blocker. He doesn't make himself bigger with his own effect. Whenever you sack another non-token permanent, you put it number of plus counters equal to its power up to one other target creature. You can use this with Skithiryx. So sack lands makes Skithiryx huge. Basically, you sack 3 lands. He's now lethal if your opponents don't have flying, so you can punish them. If not, you keep this guy out, and if they try to like take out some of your smaller guys with removal, targeted removal specifically, that's non-destroy effects, you could sack lands at instant speed, make your guys big so they can't just like ping them to death or try and like do some toxic deluge shenanigans. So turns out I'm liking him, but you know, if it's needing to be replaced with something stronger, I can always cut him. But for now, he's pretty good. Don't know how to pronounce his name. SZA, basically. Hearthhole. Actually, when I saw this, I immediately was like, this is going to be good for Windgrace. The fact that it's Station 2, pay 1, tap second land, draw 2 cards. You can play additional land this turn. So good with Windgrace. You sack a land. If you have a Corvold or a Gitrog out, you're drawing a card from that, but you're also drawing 2 cards, and then you can play additional land each turn. So he stays at that Station 2 ability for most of the game until you are ready to use its Station 8 ability to take down your opponents. Whenever you sack a land, each opponent loses 2 life. So you're using that for the end game. Good way to just like hit somebody on the stack if they try to go for a win. If somebody's just being problematic, sack your lands. Boom. 2 life for each land. That's what? If you sack 10 lands, 20 life. That's pretty good. Those are all of our creatures. 26, like I said. It's a decent number. I definitely like what that count is right now. Right now we are running 5 enchantments and 5 artifacts, 26 creatures. Now to instants and sorceries, we are going to 10 sorceries. This number has changed up and down so many times. I'm liking where 10 is at. Thoughts of Ruin is a mass land denial card, so it is bracket 4 for this reason. Each player sacks land for each card in your hand. I prefer this over land destruction because with land destruction, you're not getting Corvold triggers. So Thoughts of Ruin. Each player sacks land, including you, for each card in your hand. So if you have a Splendor Wreck, I suggest playing this when you have a Splendor Wreck in hand. You don't want to play this with no backup. You want to get your opponent's lands off the field and be able to get your lands back. So you play this, and then you Windgrace ability to -3 to bring back 2 lands and hopefully outpace your opponents. But most of the time, I'm playing this and Splendid Wrecking. We are also playing Temporal Extortion. Another reason why this is a bracket 4 for extra turns. If you have a Vexing Shusher, you cast this, you activate Vexing Shusher to make it uncounterable. Even if they pay Afterlife, still uncounterable. Just get that out there. The 4 black pips isn't a problem usually because Urborg, Prismatic Omen, Dryad of Lycian Grove. But yeah, I can also chain extra turns with this card. So, bracket 4. We're playing Demonic Tutor, another game changer. So that ups our game changer count to 4 with those 3 lands from before. Scape Shift, Splendid Wreck. These are like the go-to Demonic Tutor targets that I'm going for maybe 50% of the time. Scape Shift is such a game ender sometimes. Splendid Wreck after Scape Shift, even more of a game ender. We're playing Rishkar's Expertise because of that Merit Lage. If we can get Merit Lage out in Rishkar's, you're drawing 20 cards and you're playing a 5 or less for free. Pretty strong. Seasons Past, recurring, multiple things for one card. Probably my favorite recursion card. You're usually getting 5 things minimum back with this one card. Green Sun Zenith and Finale Devastation, good for creature tutors. Green Suns, I'm usually using it for Dryad Arbor early game, especially if I have a turn 1 untapped green mana. Turn 1 Green Suns, get that Dryad Arbor, so I can have 3 mana by turn 3, hopefully. Also good for just getting utility creatures, so I'm usually getting this for Sylvan Safekeeper or Vexing Shusher, just because if you are playing against somebody that has a lot of removal, you get that Sylvan Safekeeper. If you're playing against somebody that has a lot of counters, Green Sun Zenith, the Vexing Shusher out. Good way to protect your board. Finale Devastation, good way to end the game. Put X equals 10 into it at minimum, and give everything +10/+10 in haste. You can also grab stuff from your graveyard. People tend to forget about that, but if somebody gets one of your really good creature pieces into the grave, just get it back. So we got Decimate to round off the 10 sorceries. 4 for 1 artifact, enchantment, land, and creature removal all in one go. Probably won't take this card out ever because it's just so good. So those are our 10 sorceries. We're running 12 instants for our last 2 game changers, upping it to 6. Vampiric Tutor and Crop Rotation. Crop Rotation, holding it out for instant speed Valakut, holding out for instant speed Feel the Dead for a chump blocker, instant speed Glacial Chasm specifically for defog if somebody's going at you with lethal. So crop rotationing for those 3 lands specifically. Crop rotationing into the Thespian Stage of the Dark Depths if you have one of the other piece out for that instant speed Merit Lage also is pretty good. Vampiric Tutor, most of the time this is getting a Soul Ring if it's an early game. Also just getting that like Scape Shift and Splendid. So 6 game changers total. I don't think I'm gonna up it more than 6 because I don't really see any other game changers as being that great in the list. So for now, just 6. To round out the rest of my instance, got Repeated Reverberation, Noxious Revival, Constant Miss, Chord of Calling, Beast Within, Momentous Fall, Force of Vigor, Rakdos Charm, Fire Covenant, Assassin's Trophy. So you got most of our instants being removal, so Assassin's Trophy removal, Fire Covenant removal, Rakdos Charm removal, Force of Vigor removal, Beast Within removal, Constant Misses of Fog, Noxious Revivals, Recursion, Momentous Fall for card draw and life gain, usually using this for Merit Lage or Big Corvold. Chord of Calling, I'm using this defensively. If somebody wants to counter something on the stack, I go Chord of Calling, Vexing Shusher, make it uncounterable. If somebody's trying to target removal important creatures, I go Chord of Calling, Sylvan Safekeeper. I'm holding this in hand. I'm not sorcery speed playing this unless I'm going for a win maybe, but this is a defensive card. Repeated Reverberation. This card plus Temporal Extortion equals 3 extra land. Not extra lands. 3 extra turns. So this is what makes it a bracket 4 because I'm chaining extra turns. You can use this with removal pieces to get like 3 removal pieces. But you're usually doing this combo. So you cast Repeated Reverberation so that the next time you cast something, this Temporal Extortion, you're getting 2 copies of it that can't be countered because Temporal Extortion says when you cast this card, any player may pay half their life to counter it. Since you're making 2 copies with Repeated Reverberation, they are not being cast, so your opponents can't pay half their life to counter it. But if you have that Vexing Shusher out, you make this uncounterable on the stack as well. Now you have 3 extra turns. So this plus this, pretty good. If I really want something to go through and resolve, and I don't have the Vexing Shusher out, I usually will cast this, and then cast the targeted removal or value instant or sorcery spell. You could also use it for Windgrace, which is good utility there. So you cast this, you activate one of these abilities, you get 3 of them. I don't see anything wrong with destroying 18 non-land permanents returning 6 lands or potentially drawing 6 cards if you discard 3 lands. So this card, pretty good. That is our instance and our sorceries. So 10 sorceries, 12 instants, 6 game changers, 42 lands, 26 creatures, 5 artifacts, and 5 enchantments. I got the Mox field if anyone wants to look at it. I know this video is a little long, but I don't know, I feel like the long videos do okay as long as I'm explaining everything. But yeah, that's my Windgrace deck, Windgrace in space. Bracket 4. You can make it bracket 3 easily by taking out 3 of the game changers or replacing them with like 3 removal pieces or 3 lands or something. But yeah, I have ways of making this bracket 3 or bracket 2. If you have any questions on that, you could always answer, or you can ask me those questions and I'll be happy to answer them. Like I said, the fact that there's people subscribing and watching this content is crazy to me, but you know, I'll make some more videos. I'm also going to MagicCon in May, so if anyone's watching this and is also going to Vegas MagicCon, I guess you could always leave a comment and maybe I can meet you if you want, play a game with you if you want. I don't know. Who knows? I'm new to this content stuff, so until then, OCDMTG signing out.